How are you?
Very good, thank you. This is the second big interview we've done with President Macron since he was elected 2.5 years ago. At that point, he was very new. He had only been in office a few months.
What do you want me to sit down?
Now I think it's indisputable that he really is the most important leader in Europe.
I like the Catholics.
With a French flag.
French flag, right?
If you had to rate how you're doing in a kind of A+ to D-, whatever the worst mark is, where do you place yourself at the moment?
I mean, I think the right moment to rate is the end of the mandate.
He's eligible for election in 2022 for another mandate, which is what the French call the president's 5-year term in office. He's come off the most terrible year. He raised fuel prices, he cut social benefits, he cancelled the wealth tax, and all of that triggered the most violent mass protests known as the Yellow Vest movement.
8,000 took to the street as they protested.
How much did the gilets jaunes movement shock you?
Look, I think the question is not to be shocked, but to try to understand and address this issue. I think this is part of the reaction of middle classes and working classes we have in democracies. All these big transitions, economic, digital and technology, climate, the main result is you don't improve their day-to-day life and you increase the level of fear.
By last December, Macron's popularity had plummeted. You still face a lot of people calling you the president of the rich. They call you arrogant.
I think this is the French system. In our country, we like leadership and we want to kill the leaders.
Do you have any regrets telling somebody that they should cross the street to look for a job?
I mean, I spent a long while with each of these people and we just catch one sentence, getting it out of the context, but this is it. It created this image. Politics is also about perception. My challenge is to listen to people much better than I did at the very beginning. To have a method which is not just to reform for the country, but to reform with the country, which was this method launched with the Great Debate.
500,000 people participated all around the country.
And myself being more respectful of this time with people.
I think we're going to see a very different kind of president. He's making concerted efforts to reform his image heading into the re-election season. He visited a warehouse and met with workers who were new immigrants mostly, and young people who had gotten their first job in many years. He is in much more of a listening mode.
Due to strike action.
But a few days after this, Paris again was engulfed in strikes and protests. Macron is juggling these domestic concerns with his ambitions to be a major figure on the global stage. I wanted to ask you about your relationship with President Trump. He's been here 4 times, I believe.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll get that little piece of dandruff off. We have to make him perfect. He is perfect.
He actually said in Biarritz, we are very much alike. Would you agree?
I think he mentioned our lunch and the fact that we have strong personal views and we are not dependent on our administration, the position of our administration. And this is true. People reproached me not to have succeeded in changing his mind on climate change and so on. I mean, I did my best, but at the end of the day, I do respect a leader who committed himself during this campaign to have this position on climate change and who behaves following this line. I mean, this is democracy. If we can find an agreement with different countries. I strongly believe that in Iran, he doesn't want a war. We still have the opportunity to find an agreement.
On Brexit, is there any give whatsoever in the hands of Europe?
I think we should look at the situation as it is. British people decided to leave, not European people. And today you have just a political British crisis. This deadlock is a British deadlock, it's not a European deadlock. Yep. And at the end of the day, you know, the final cut will be the British one, because they always have the possibility to withdraw Article 50. Nobody should forget that. The big risk for Europe is to be put in a situation of weakness and to just have the choice between US and China.
A major escalation.
When I look at the US position, the Russian position, the Chinese position, they are not to have a stronger Europe. When I look at the increase of extremists in Europe, they are all nationalists and in favor of dismantling of Europe. Which means we have to build the condition to create a better life for people in Europe, and especially middle classes. But you have to build a new narrative and the evidence of this new narrative on a very short period of time. You want me to get rid of this mic?
Nearly 2 years ago, we predicted that Macron would be the next leader of Europe if only he could lead his country. Seeing where he stands today, our prediction has largely come true.